Hi, this is Paranormal Encounters, and I'm your host, Brenda McGee. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Mary Catherine Volk. Thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Brenda.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm a medium and a spiritual medium and an author. I've done metaphysical work for over 25 years, and I kind of specialize in working with ghosts. And what I have found is that they're more Caspers. They're the friendly ghosts. What I find is if there's a ghost on your property, he's usually has something to tell you, or he just feels that that's his home, and that he's been there, and he's kind of wondering why you're there. But I have a practice where I'm able to go in and clear the property. But what I find is usually the ghost has something for the homeowner in particular to tell them.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes what comes up is that the homeowner has had a past life on that property, and in particular with the ghost.
Really?
And that's when it gets extremely interesting, because it's actually a healing experience for the homeowner.
So it could be a past life that they came in contact with. Wow.
Wow. And that's why they were drawn to either rent or buy that particular piece of property.
So that's when people get that feeling like, I have to have this house, I don't know why. And
yes.
It could be a past life
It's
thing.
a past life thing. I actually was in real estate years ago, and I actually had a couple walk in. They just got beyond the front door. They had not even seen the rest of the house, and they said, "We're going to buy this house. This is our house. We have to buy it." And again, that's an example of when people just know. They're drawn to a particular piece of property, or they keep going back to a particular area. They may have grown up in one area, they moved away, went to college, and then came back, either went back into that neighborhood, or maybe they have a business now, and their business is located in that neighborhood.
Wow.
So again, it's because of a past life, and usually it's something that needs to be healed. It's a trauma, it's something that happened to them, and it's causing some sort of trauma or fear that they have in this life. Wow. And the ghosts are actually there to help you. Really? They're there to help you heal that. And it's an amazing session when people can actually go back, and they go back. They're able to very easily step back into that past life and see and feel what they experienced.
Wow.
And then forgive. Amazing. Usually it's forgiving and letting go. And then the ghost is able to leave also. A lot of times the ghost, it may have been a battle. We have a lot of that with the Native Americans here in New England.
Right.
Yes, we had so many wars with the settlers and the Indians. So there's a lot of that type of energy that's still remaining on the land. And also ghosts come back. They come back to heal.
Now it's funny because you call them ghosts. People call them spirits. People call them entities.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly it's just energy.
It's just energy. That's all it is. And even when I say the word ghost, it's more for people to understand.
Right.
Yes, because it is just their energy, their essence, and almost a part of them that they left.
Wow.
They left there on the property when they passed.
So now what is your process? You get a phone call.
Mm-hmm. I get a phone call. People usually will tell me, I know there's something going on in my house. Things are missing. I've sent somebody, things, the lights are blinking. I feel a coldness in a room. I feel there's a ghost. I know that something may have happened on the property. They're aware of some past. They may know that somebody died in the home. Or even a lot of people that are on grounds near where there were a lot of battles fought. They're aware of that as well. And they'll call me and say, I would like you to come out and do a clearing on my home and tell me what's going on. Who is this ghost? I don't feel threatened by them, but it's just weird knowing somebody else is here, and I'd like to know who it is. Yeah.
And that's the nice part, is some people just want to know who's there.
Yes. Most of them already know.
Right.
They have a connection to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But they want to know who it is
validation.
to validate. And then get that other piece. I always say, when I go in and do a clearing on your home, I'm taking the pieces of the puzzle for you, and we're putting your piece, the ghost piece, we put all the pieces together. And then they're able to see a much broader picture.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I know you wrote a book. Could you tell me about the book?
Yes. I wrote a book. It was just released in this last year. It's called Believe in Forever, How to Recognize Signs from Your Departed Loved Ones.
I love that.
Okay, and the reason I wrote it is because I know that our loved ones are with us shortly after they pass, and they're there giving all of us signs. But so many people either don't know what the signs are, or they discount them,
Right.
or afraid to tell anybody about them, afraid somebody's going to say, oh, you're crazy.
Right.
So they just kind of keep it in, and they're missing out. They're missing out again on that love and comfort that their loved ones are sending to them when they come. So I wrote the book. It's a how-to for somebody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so because I go through all the different ways, all the different signs, in particular dreams. That's the easiest way for our loved ones to come and give us a message. But so many times people say, I don't remember my dreams.
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard that when a lot of people, I'll say, ask them to come into your dreams, because that's when you're at your most relaxed state.
Yes.
And they'll say, I just don't get anything, and they get really, really upset.
They do. And people do. They say, oh, why can they come to you? Or why can they come to a medium? But they don't come to me. And then they feel less than. They feel, he didn't love me. Or,
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Or something's wrong. Is he mad? Or something like that. When in fact they do come to us when we're in that dream state. But there are several things that people can do to help them remember their dreams, because they already know within seconds of our feet hitting the floor, we lose 70% of the dream, the memory of it.
Right.
Yeah. So there's ways to record it while you're still in bed. Before you even move a muscle, you want to start writing. You want to wake up and write down. Keep a pad and a pencil by your bed. And a pencil, not a pen, so you can write upside down in the dark.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can they get your book if they wanted to order your book?
Yeah, they can get my book. It is on Amazon.com. But also, if they'd like to get an autographed copy of my book for the same price, they can get it from my website. And it's www.believeinforever.today.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because I do have a lot of people that say, I wish I could have a sign, I wish this, I wish that. And I said, you can, you just have to really want it, because some people are afraid.
They're afraid, and what they have to do really is they can't be in a deep state of grief.
Yeah.
Because when we're in a deep state of grief, we're actually closing out spirit. We're at a lower vibration. And what we have to realize is once our loved ones leave the physical body, they're in spirit. They're at a higher vibration. And when they come and visit us, they actually lower their vibration to be near us. But if our vibration is high enough, we will see the signs. We'll receive them. But if we're like really in a deep state of grief, we're just too low a vibration to be able to feel it. Doesn't mean that they're not there, though.
Right.
Does not mean that they're not there. And that's part of why I wrote the book, too, because I felt so many people felt they had to go running to a medium and pay hundreds of dollars.
Right.
To try to hope they get a message. And I mean, if you're in an auditorium with 1,000 people, they can only give how many messages? 8 to 10 at the most. At the most. Yes. So, and then they're thinking, oh my God, I didn't get a message, when in fact their loved one is probably right behind them all the time.
Yeah. I tell them it's little things. They look for these big extravagant signs, things like that, and I'm like, it's not that all the time.
No, sometimes it's just sensing them and getting a chill.
Right.
Or getting a sense of warmth and just love, just feeling like that you're being hugged with their love, or even, something on your cheek.
Right.
The lights blinking or dimming, finding a feather, a coin.
Right.
Yeah, finding a coin. Or their favorite song comes on the radio.
Right.
That's another one. And the other thing is, too, once you acknowledge that, yes, hi, Dad, that's you. I know that's your favorite song. I can feel you. I know you're here with me. Then he will know, okay, that she understands.
Right.
So then that will be his message. He'll do that more often. Because they come through and they affect the electricity because they're energy.
Right.
So they can blink or lower the lights. They can turn a radio on, play a favorite song, and then shut the radio off.
Right.
Yeah. The phone can ring in the middle of the night and it's just static. If that happens, don't hang up.
Right.
Don't hang up. Stay on the phone. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. But there's so many different ways, and I find they're all unique. They still have their own personalities that they had here on Earth when they cross over. So if they were a jokester or like to play jokes, or that's going to be their method of contacting you.
So when did you first start seeing or experiencing, things?
Well, it started with me when I was 6 years old. I had a near-death experience.
Oh.
Yeah. So I went into a coma. I was in a coma for a week.
Wow.
And it was very frightening. It was extremely frightening. And I just went into total blackness. And at that point, I went into fear because I just didn't know where I was, or just this very, very dark tunnel. And I started going through it, but then all of a sudden I could sense light and I could sense love. I could sense love coming towards me, and I could start to see an older gentleman in a suit. He was dressed very nicely. He started coming towards me with a big smile on his face, and he knew me. And he was very excited, just sending me his love. And he took me by my right hand, and he took me into this big open field of green, beautiful green, with a lot of people, and there was a great sense of gaiety and joy. They were very, very joyful, and they got all excited to see me. And they came around me, and they were, I knew that they knew me, but I didn't know them.
Right.
So I stayed with them, or so I thought in my mind. And the good thing was I wasn't afraid anymore, as long as I was with him. Yeah, so I stayed with him the whole time. And at one point, we went to my hospital room, and I could see my mom sitting in a chair, and I could see myself in the bed, which was, I had trouble trying to figure that out. And he was just standing with me, holding my right hand. And my mother started to cry. And he went over and he put his arm around my mother and said, don't worry, Evelyn, Mary's going to be all right. Mary's going to be all right. And when he said that, I got very excited because I really didn't know where I was. Right. And the fact that he told my mother I was going to be all right, I was like, okay, I know I'm okay. So anyway, I awoke from the coma a week later, and they said I was like this miracle child. Wow. Because it was a whole ward. It was measles encephalitis that caused swelling on the brain. Yeah. And I was technically the only child who came out of it, without any problems, or lived through it even.
Right.
Yeah. However, my brothers always said I was a little weird. They didn't think I was too normal. But the good part about that was I told my mother the story. I told her about 3 years later when she kind of shared with me just how sick I really was. And she said to me, the doctors told me that you may not live, or if you did, you may never be the same again. But she said, I didn't believe those doctors. She said, I just knew you were going to be okay. And I looked at her and I said, well, of course you knew I was going to be okay. And she said, what? And I said, because that man told you I was going to be all right. And she said, "What man?" And I said, "The man that I was with when I wasn't with you and Daddy." And she said, "Describe this man to me." So when I said he was tall and he had like grayish hair and he had a nice suit on, and I said he had a very warm hand. I said he held my hand the whole time. And she said, "Oh my God," she said, "you just described my father."
Wow.
And I just got a chill.
Yeah.
That's another sign, a chill. And she said, "He died the year before you were born."
Wow.
And she said, "I always wished he had lived to see you because I knew he would love you."
Right.
And I said, "Well, Mom, I know he does love me. I know that.
Right.
I felt that the whole time I was with him." So that, for my mom and I, it started us on a journey. My mother was very psychic also, that we were able to, I could say things to her and she'd say to me, "We can't talk like this in front of everybody." And especially because I went to Catholic schools.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to be careful who you mention this to. But our entire family, and that's why I wrote the book too, because there's so many examples of what happened to my family. We had so many loved ones die at young ages in a short period of time that if we had not been open as a family to signs, in knowing
Right.
that they were okay and that
Right.
we'd see them again, I don't think my family would have gotten through them. It was so difficult.
And I get that. I really get that. And that's what's been happening, honestly, lately, the past year. We've had so many deaths in our family.
I'm sorry.
But I'm the same way. It's like I'm happy for them because I know, they're in such a beautiful place and things like that. And it gives people, it makes them happy, but yet they think, they've got it in their head that it wouldn't be right if I was to ask for a sign or whatever, because then I would be making them come out of heaven.
Yeah, and that's not true, because they're in heaven, but they're also checking in on us.
And
they're very close to their family. Yes. But, one of the examples that I have in the book is my husband passed away when my girls were teenagers. I know.
Sorry.
That was the last. that was really the toughest one, I have to tell you. But he gave us so many signs. When the kids were growing up, I mean, it was just commonplace in our home to have him there with us. So when my youngest daughter was getting married, we knew he'd be at the wedding, but I asked him for a very clear sign for his mother, because his mother didn't believe. She had lost 2 children, God bless her, and that she just could not believe that she would ever see them again.
Right.
So I asked him for a very clear sign at the wedding that he was there. I asked for blue sky, sunshine, and over 50-degree weather. December 11th, down in Narragansett.
Oh my God.
at the seashore. And we got it.
Wow.
We got it. It was 54 degrees, and it lasted into the evening. We never even wore coats that night for the wedding.
That's amazing.
But what I didn't expect was the pictures. When the pictures came back, there were orbs, white orbs, strategically where he would have been standing in the photograph.
That's amazing.
And it was 3 cameras, 3 different people taking the pictures. So it left no doubt that he was indeed there. And I showed them to my mother-in-law, and she found more orbs in the pictures than I had seen originally. And she actually passed 5 weeks to the day after that wedding.
Wow.
Very peacefully, knowing that she was going to be with her children and her mother.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But that's when I said, I need to bring this book. I need to put it in print, show these photographs for other young men and women who have lost their parent, and how hard that is the day of their wedding.
Right.
Any great accomplishments, the birth of a child, a graduation, to let them know that indeed your parents are with you, your loved ones are there.
And we can say that, but sometimes they just, don't understand until something, like you said, happens, a sign or something, or you make them aware of it to look for it. And then when they get it, it's, I always tell them, just ask.
Ask, definitely ask. And sit and meditate and just bring themselves into a higher vibration. That really helps.
Yeah.
It not only does it help to get a sign, but it just helps them too with the grieving process as well. You know.
Now, when you, I know this is getting a little bit off the subject, but when you do clearings and things like that, do you find sometimes that it's someone who, don't realize that they've passed and they're looking for a loved one?
Yes.
Because a lot of people ask that question.
That a lot of times it is that they don't know they've passed, especially if they died quickly in a battle.
Right.
Okay. Or a car accident, sometimes an accident too.
Right.
So what I do in that case, if they still are just staying and they have not gone to the light, if they have not crossed over, then I'm able to assist them to do that. And what I do is I call on their God, deity, whoever they resonate with, and their loved ones to come. Their loved ones to come and appear, to let them know that it's time for them to go in. And I'll tell them what year it is too, because they really are stuck back at that time,
right?
That year that they died.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. But sometimes they come back to find another loved one. Some people, one person, there was one instance up in New Hampshire. There was a woman, beautiful farmhouse that a good friend of mine owned, and they had this beautiful screen house that they couldn't use because the ghost had kind of taken over it. And it was terrible because it was a beautiful screen house. But she was the matriarch who had owned the farm, about 100 years before, and she was still sitting in her chaise lounge looking out. And she didn't know that, when she passed, she didn't believe in a hereafter. She didn't believe in anything else. So she just decided to stay on her farm.
Right.
Yeah. Well, she had a lover on the farm who actually was a worker. He was a worker on the farm. And when he passed years after her, he went looking for her. Wow. And when he couldn't find her, he came back to the farm. And he was there also.
Wow.
He was there also, trying to find her. But he could see her, but she couldn't see him because she didn't believe. And all it took was for us to tell her that he was there.
Wow.
And then when she looked for him, she saw him. And then they both left.
See, now you need to write a book on your experience.
That's actually was what I I wanted to write a book on that originally. But for some reason, this book here...
You were guided to do that.
I was guided to do this one first because I think this is bringing great comfort to so many people. In fact, I find a lot of people buying my book as a gift to give to someone who's recently lost someone.
Right. And something, I think it's wonderful because I think that's what people need nowadays.
They do.
Is just something that they can look at and say, you know what, if I do this, then it gives them hope.
Gives them hope. And in the privacy of their own home without, who do I ask about this? Where do I go?
Right.
And there's been so much fear around it too over the years. People, I say in the book too, that we're all born naturally intuitive.
Right.
We all have it.
Right.
It's our sixth sense, but we're taught to discount it or, that it's our imagination. So if we don't use it, over time it weakens like anything else.
Right.
But, and I think a lot of times when we lose a loved one very close to us, they're there actually helping you.
Oh, yeah,
They're
definitely.
helping you learn this new way of communicating. It's like learning a new language.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I think I don't miss my mom as much, is because I know I can communicate with her whenever I want, and she helps me with a lot of things and a lot of the spiritual work.
Oh, yes.
She loves being a part of that, and
that's
it's,
wonderful.
So I think if people know that there's, a way that they can communicate, even though we tell them, but I just think it's wonderful that you were guided to write the book.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I definitely, spirit, and especially even my husband, I dedicate the book to him, because I say that he definitely wrote the book with me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we are running out of time. Is there any last thing, or can you tell us again how we could get
Yes, the name of the book again is Believe in Forever, How to Recognize Signs from Your Departed Loved Ones. And you can get it, it's on Amazon.com, or if you'd like to get it from my website, I'll autograph a copy to you, or you can tell me, give me the name, and I'll autograph it to somebody else. And that's www.believeinforever.today.
Well, I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions or you want to get in touch with Mary Catherine, you can email me at paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com. And thanks for watching. And thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.